Hello, hello everybody, it's Girl Got Game, and welcome back to Changeling. We have many bad endings ahead of us, so let's get started with bad ending number 1. And we're in chapter 1, and it's our first choice, where I was like, I don't know about doors and things, what does it mean? So this time, we're going to choose the door furthest from us instead of the door closest to us. It felt almost like I was driven by someone else's will as I started for the door I knew was furthest from where I was. But with each step, I grew more confident. My hand touched the smooth metal of the door handle, and I let myself outside. I was aware of the wind, cold, long fingers that pulled at my hair and clothes, but it was somehow faint, as if muffled by the warmth of the dark that enveloped me. This was definitely a dream. Pavement scratched my feet as I wandered down the driveway, and a familiar voice hummed in my ears. My voice, but strange and raspy. Something was burning my feet, and my steps faltered as I realized I'd gone off into the grass. What am I doing? I tried to stop, but my feet stumbled forward again as if something was pulling me along. My toes were freezing in the icy grass. No, I had to stop. I had to go back to the house. This wasn't right. But another voice inside demanded I keep going, urgently begging me to take another step. And another. My will crumbled, and I obeyed. Oh, we got to the bridge from the front. Interesting. My feet met another surface, cold, hard. And I paused. I knew somehow this wasn't where I meant to go. My dark world blazed bright with blinding lights. The dream gave way to reality. A loud sound blared, and the world came into sharp focus. No! I threw myself backwards, falling back into the grass with a heavy thump. Did I almost get run over by a car? Rule. Ugh. I lay there, nursing a bruised arm, shivering in the autumn air. At first, I was just too shocked to really understand what was happening. But my brain finally caught up to the situation. I was outside, down by the bridge, in the street. The sky overhead was still dark. I had no idea what time it was. Early AM, most likely. Who drives like that this early in the morning? Then again, who wandered around in the road this early in the morning? Me, apparently. Still shaking, I got to my feet, wincing as sharp stings of pain lanced up into my legs. My feet were scratched up and bleeding from my little trek outside. But I needed to get back home, so I was going to have to bear with it. Hugging myself, I staggered back to the house anxiously. Thankfully, all the lights were out, and it didn't seem like anyone had noticed I left. I probably hadn't been gone long. In the kitchen, I stopped by the sink, where I carefully wiped the blood and mud from my feet with paper towels. I blotted the dirty footprints I left on the wood floor and carefully threw away the paper towels, making sure to hide them further down in the bin so Mom wouldn't see them. Worried, cold, and still in pain, I made my way up to the bathroom Spencer and I shared. This sleepwalking thing was getting worse. If I hadn't woken up. That car. I shut the doors and turned the lights on, blinking painfully at my reflection. The Nora that looked back at me was haggard, her clothing wet and her hair a wind-blown mess. Idiot. I quickly finished doctoring my feet and arm before limping back to bed. After a quick change into dry pajamas, I snuggled in under the blankets and pulled them up over my head like I'd done as a child to ward off the monsters. But those monsters had been imaginary. This monster, this sleepwalking menace, was very real. And I was going to have to deal with it if I didn't want to get myself seriously hurt. Interesting. That played out quite a bit differently. Without Elliot to help us find our way back home. Okay, so I'm just gonna leave you, Ewan. Bye. I think I'm going to head back up toward my house. Allie will probably show up soon. I gave him an awkward smile and started that way.
Wait,
I paused and looked back at him, but he shuffled awkwardly as if he wasn't sure what to say now that he'd gotten my attention.
How are things? With you, I mean.
Oh, well, I guess they're as well as can be expected? Hey, you're a fairy, right? I mean, you said you were, so that was kind of a dumb question.
Yes.
I narrowed my eyes, trying to work out if he was saying yes to being a fairy or to my question being dumb. Yes. Ugh, it doesn't matter. Can I ask for advice on something? Fairy related?
What sort of advice?
Well, there's this fairy that lives in my house. And it's kind of annoying. I mean, well, I'd be fine with it for the most part. Except when it takes baths in the sink.
Baths in the sink?
Yeah.
So it's a brownie or something similar.
Brownie?
A type of household fairy? A lot of the houses in our neighborhood have them.
Oh, I should write about brownies. Brownies are generally considered benevolent house spirits. There are multiple variations of them, but one thing they have in common is how easily they're offended by minor transgressions, and their ability to hold grudges for years. When happy, brownies will guard the house and even do minor chores around. When ticked, brownies play incessant pranks and generally become a huge nuisance. Checks out. So we could have learned about the brownie earlier if we were just like, yeah, I'm gonna head out. Oh, I didn't know the exact name, but yeah, I guess that's probably what it is. Anyway, it's just that it's been harassing my brother. Nothing serious, just pranks. Stealing things, hiding stuff.
And you thought because I'm Fae, I must know how to deal with all other Fae as well, right?
I mean, I didn't necessarily assume that. But I guess I did think you might know more than me, yeah. He seemed weirdly annoyed by that idea. I wasn't sure why. Was it weird to ask a fairy how to deal with fairies? Yeah? I mean, not weird, but just kind of difficult. It's interesting that this conversation took this turn. Ewan crossed his arms over his chest, radiating irritation.
You're Fae? Do you know how to deal with it?
I'm still pretty new at this fairy thing. You've been doing it for a while. Case in point, you knew it was a brownie, and I did not.
Just because I'm Fae, it doesn't mean I know everything about fairies in general. I know enough to get me by. And unlike you, I don't have a lot of interest in learning more.
You're the one who said I could ask you for help. I don't know why you're getting so testy about me taking you up on that.
I'm not being testy. I'm just telling you to not get your hopes up about running to me every time another fairy rears its head.
I didn't run to you. I asked a question. Jeez, my mistake. Ewan is a brownie neophyte. Got it.
I'm not a neophyte.
Well, I was going to say idiot, but that seemed rude.
Hey!
Well, we managed to argue long enough that Allie came. I guess I should at least thank you for that daring rescue earlier.
Yeah.
About that. Okay. Allie, it's all Spencer's fault. I just had to get away from Spencer, that's all. It wasn't untrue, and I really just didn't want to lecture about wandering around outside. Not only was it annoying to be told I couldn't do something as innocuous as go for a walk, I also didn't want Allie fussing over me again. More fighting? What else is new?
It does seem like it's been worse than usual lately.
It's that stupid household spirit.
The brownie?
Brownie or whatever it is, it's still on a rampage.
What now?
Remember when I told you last week that it didn't seem to like Spencer?
Yeah?
Well, the pranks are getting worse. It's not just the keys anymore. It's his homework, his shoes. Anything. Everything. So he's blaming me, of course, because who else would he blame? I can't tell him what's going on, and I'm not going to admit to it because, first of all, it's not me. And second, if I admit to it, then it keeps happening. that's going to be an even bigger problem. And I can't make it stop. So I have to pretend Spencer is just going nuts. Which sucks.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea how he made it mad?
Nope. Not a clue, really.
Maybe we can find a way to banish it from the house then.
Banish? That sounded a little dramatic. Besides, it had been in the house first. Making it leave seemed unfair. And it was only bothering Spencer. What about finding a way to appease it instead?
Well, you could ask Brenna or Ewan about it, but...
Yeah, well, I already asked Ewan and he just bit my head off. Brenna, I don't know. I don't think she'd answer.
Yeah, that's probably true. There are probably some books in the library about it.
Yeah, because I needed another topic to research. I'd already been trying to read up on fairies in general, not to mention try to figure out anything I could about my own past. Why I might have disappeared, what could have happened to Spencer's eye. It was going pretty slow as it was. Adding brownies to the list of topics wasn't something I was happy about. Allie gave me a careful look.
Of course, that's not the worst problem, is it? I mean, you can deal with Spencer. There's something else bothering you, isn't there?
Ugh. How does she do that? Well, there is something else. I guess it's probably making me have a little less patience for Spencer's usual crankiness.
You weren't planning to talk to me about it.
I didn't want to worry you, and I guess I wanted more time to mull it over myself. I don't even know how big a deal it even is.
What's going on?
Don't freak out, okay?
You saying that makes me think I need to freak out.
Okay, I think we're back. No, we're not yet. Okay, look. Starting since the night before I joined the club, I've been occasionally sleepwalking.
Okay.
And not just in the house.
What?
Don't freak out!
I'm not freaking out. I'm just concerned.
Look, it's only happened a few times, but yeah, I've woken up outside a couple of times.
Do you have any idea how dangerous it is for you to be wandering around at night at the time of year?
At any time of year?
But especially right before Samhain.
I'd stop it if I could.
I can't believe you weren't planning on telling me this.
I wasn't planning on telling you today. That doesn't mean I wasn't planning to mention it at all.
You should have told me the first time it happened.
I thought it was just stress.
Stress doesn't make you sleepwalk outside.
It might.
Look, I'm not going to sit here and try to diagnose your sleep issues. It could be because you're Fae. Fairies are known to have some odd behaviors and compulsions. It could also be stress, but until we know for sure, we have to find a way to at least keep you inside.
Yeah, well, locked doors don't seem to provide much of a barrier.
We might be able to come up with something. I have a friend who could probably help.
A friend? Are we... not yet?
Another witch in the club. I don't think you've met her yet, but she's nice. I have some ideas, but she's much better at that kind of thing than I am.
I wasn't sure I wanted to let another person in on it, though. I mean, there was no reason not to. It was just personal. Broadcasting it to strangers was a bit... ugh. Yeah, let's ask her. Wow, that conversation played out so much differently, and we didn't nearly die in a car crash, so good. Okay, ignoring Elliot's plight aside. They really keep us corralled together, don't they? Once I said it, I realized it sounded far more cynical than I intended, but I couldn't help it. I already had to join the club somewhat against my will, and now Danny was telling me the teachers literally encouraged us to interact exclusively with each other. It wasn't that I had a ton of normal friends I wanted to spend time with. I just didn't like the idea of being forced to make my life revolve around my not being normal. Still, I winced inwardly at how bitter that had sounded. A strange look passed over Danny's face. Disappointed and a little sad.
I don't think that's what they're trying to do, necessarily. It's just for convenience. I didn't mean to upset you. I just thought you'd want to help, considering...
Considering what? Danny glanced around at the chattering people surrounding us. No one was really paying attention to us, but I guess he was trying to work out what to say that would be safe. Honestly, if he's worried, he shouldn't have brought this whole Elliot thing up in the first place. Nora, that's not really fair.
It's just that friends help each other.
Friends? Or club members?
For most of us, it's the same thing.
I chewed my lip in frustration before leaning closer and lowering my voice. Elliot is my friend. Just like you and Allie are. I just hate feeling forced. That's all. He gave me a weak smile.
Well, I can't say I don't understand that feeling myself.
Obviously, I'll poke Elliot awake occasionally if I sit next to him. I was just surprised to hear that we'd be kept together like that.
Sorry for springing it on you.
I'm sorry I snapped.
So we're okay?
I nodded. Yeah. Aw, Danny. So sweet. We were interrupted there as Mrs. Roberts strode in. Everyone fell quiet as we were quickly assigned new seats and partners. And Danny, as always, called it. Hey Drayson, lunch you say? I actually would just like to eat here. That said, as much as I was kinda curious and appreciated the offer, I'd honestly just prefer to eat here. I was still a little leery of all this paranormal stuff. It was fine when it was Allie or someone, but gallivanting off into the unknown with a pink-haired cryptic I didn't even know seemed like it was just asking for trouble. Drayson instantly wilted when I said that, though. Poor Drayson.
Oh. That's okay, then. I didn't mean to bother you. Maybe next time.
He started away, shoulders drooping. I let out a long sigh. It felt like I'd just kicked a puppy. Dang it! Drayson, hang on. He turned back, his face full of expectation. I was so not good with people like this. Promise me that it isn't anywhere weird. He gave me a blinding smile.
It's definitely not weird, I promise.
Alright. Let's go. I hope I don't regret this.
Yay!
With that, he led me to the stairs. I followed behind him, wondering why he was so keen to have lunch with me when we didn't really even know each other. Just because of EWAN? That was kind of strange. In any case, it kind of felt like we were just heading to the club room, which was decidedly less mysterious than I was expecting. Okay. Nope. We didn't stop inside the club, though. Drayson pulled me to the library door and knocked, but not the 3 straight knocks that led to the library. When he opened the door, I felt a rush of warm air and heard birds? What on earth? I stepped through cautiously. Okay, now we're back. And this time I'm going to be a nosy Nora and ask about EWAN. Drayson, you said EWAN was the one who thought I should come here? He nodded.
He caught up with me this morning. Asked me to show you around and introduce you to Brenna properly.
Weird. And why wouldn't he just do that himself? I looked around the courtyard. There were a couple of other people. A blonde girl I didn't know who was sitting with William. A blonde girl sitting with William? Would that be Is Shelley sitting with William? Man, I miss William. We didn't see William at all this route. But EWAN was nowhere to be seen. I had thought he might be getting food or talking to someone else, but he still hadn't shown up. I glanced at Brenna, who was watching a bird hop along the edge of the fountain with almost disturbing intensity. There were surely better options than her. So where is he anyway? Is he not coming? Drayson frowned slightly.
I'm not sure, actually. But sometimes he has to head home to help his family. Not too often, but if they're understaffed and need help.
During school? What does his family do?
They run a bakery. They're really nice, and they make amazing things. But this time of the year, lots of people get sick. Colds and flu, you know. But Ewan wanted you to meet some other Fae and get to know us all.
Huh. I wonder what the cold and flu has to do with it. Is his mom, like, prone to getting ill? I feel like fairies wouldn't really get sick that often. I wasn't sure how I felt about that. I was just fine hanging out with a witch, a werewolf, and a vampire. It wasn't like I had to hang out with my kind or whatever. Though I suppose I could take the opportunity to try to learn some stuff. So what kind of fairies are you, if that's not too rude to ask?
Oh, I'm not Fae, really.
But you just said... Maybe I'd misunderstood. I'd gotten the impression they both were, and that's why Ewan wanted me to meet them both.
I am a unicorn, though. We get along with Fae pretty well, and many of us live in Fairy with them.
A unicorn. My brain struggled to grasp that. I knew I was staring at him, but come on! I had put up with so much since learning about this world. Magic doors, Spriggans, wizards, and now unicorns. Pink-haired unicorns at that? This is ludicrous. Drayson tipped his head to the side and gave me a bright smile.
What?
He practically sparkled in the sunlight. Good lord. I could definitely believe he was a unicorn. I looked away, covering my mouth with my hand, not wanting to spew my growing cynicism about cryptics at him. Nothing. Brenna suddenly let out a distressing yowl and leaped out of her chair at the bird. Girl. What the heck? Everyone in the courtyard stopped and stared at her as the bird fluttered to the sky, leaving Brenna to glare after it. Well, everyone but Drayson. I nearly jumped out of my skin, but he just sat there calmly, barely seeming to register it. Are fairies all really this weird? Am I this weird? I really wish Ewan was around. Drayson wasn't that bad, but Brenna was definitely freaking me out. Brenna being Brenna. Like reading up on how to appease a cranky brownie in order to appease my cranky brother. Thought of Spencer made me frown, as it does. But he'd completely rebuffed my attempt to ask for his advice about the brownie. Then again, fairies were kind of like that, weren't they?
By the way, I tracked down some help for your brownie problem. Not to mention the sleepwalking thing.
Oh yeah. I forgot I texted her about that. Okay. What's up next? Oh, right. You trying to get me alone for a long time. Well, curiosity killed the Nora. Curiosity? What? You have to have a reason for offering me a ride when you don't have to. I decided I want to know what it is. I can't offer you a ride without a reason. No. No, you can't. Are you seriously even asking that? You hate me. You'd never volunteer to spend time with me without an ulterior motive. He sighed, but I noticed he didn't deny it. I pulled up my contact screen and sent Allie a text. Okay. We're good. Okay, instead of doubling down on Spencer. But proving a point just wasn't worth it. I really didn't want to have a shouting match with Spencer all the way to school. Yeah, you know what? I do need a ride. He even looked like he hadn't been expecting me to say that. But when I slammed the car door shut and started around the front of the car, he must have realized I was serious. He pulled his helmet off and glowered at Spencer.
You're really kicking your little sister out of the car. You're a shitty brother, you know that?
Actually, I'm older than him. By several minutes. You did not assume I was younger just because I'm a girl. It's because you're short, girl. I'm going to strangle them both. Spencer scoffed. I guess people like you really do stick together. Here we go again. Ewan straightened instantly.
What's that supposed to mean?
My sister and I aren't the only ones people in school talk about. I've heard about you. And I know you're in that club. With her.
Oh my god, is Spencer really picking a fight with someone who can probably break him like a twig?
And there's some kind of problem with our club?
To his credit, Spencer didn't back down. He glared up at Ewan.
Yeah, I hear everyone in it is a freak.
Ewan's jaw clenched painfully tight. He snapped out his foot, knocking down the kickstand on the bike. Oh, it's about to go down. Oh, shoot! Whoa! Hey, okay, you two do realize we're blocking the entire freaking road here, right? Ewan paused, at least seeming to sort of rethink a brawl in the middle of the street. Not that it would have been a brawl, more like Spencer getting thrashed. But whatever. And Spencer, weren't you just leaving?
Whatever. Just stay away from me.
He jumped in the car and sped off, kicking up a spray of dirt and wet leaves. Hey! You offered to drive me, you jerk! Not that he could hear me shouting after him. I turned to look at Ewan. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for him. He's just taking his anger at me out on you. He's literally just suspicious of everything I do these days.
Forget it. Not like he's wrong anyway.
What?
Just forget it.
I chewed my lip as I watched him get back on his bike and shove his helmet back on. Thanks. For stopping, I mean.
Don't you usually ride with Ellie?
How did you know that?
I've just seen you arrive with her some mornings, that's all.
I had never really seen him in the mornings, so I didn't know when he'd seen us, but... okay. Wasn't going to argue that point. Yeah, well... my mom encouraged me to ride with Spencer today. I strapped his spare helmet on and awkwardly joined him on the bike. She thought he wanted to make up.
And instead he lured you into a trap so he could ditch you again.
That is a slight overdramatization of what happened.
Given how notoriously bad-tempered he is, I'd have expected you to be more careful.
Ewan's hands tightened on the handlebars and he looked back at me.
I know you said he's suspicious of everything you do, but it is safer if he doesn't find out what we are.
In all fairness, we haven't exactly ruled out the possibility of him also being a cryptic.
Cryptic or not, unless he's really adept at hiding his aura, he's not Fae.
You can tell? Ewan shrugged.
Fae auras are unique enough that I can get a basic idea if someone is or not. He has faint traces of Fae magic lingering around him, but considering he lives with you, that's not surprising. It tends to rub off a bit.
Huh.
Even if he's just slightly sensitive or something, it's not safe for humans to get involved in Fae business.
I know that.
We're going.
Okay. And we're off. Yeah, don't this time. Don't. You'll just make it worse.
I don't think so. He listens to me.
Maybe he used to, but I don't think he's the same Spencer you remember. He's changed a lot in the last few years, and he's getting worse. The secret isn't helping, but it's a secret you have to keep from him too, and I think that would just make it even harder for you to talk to him. I don't get why it's okay for Elliot's family to know he's a vampire, but I have to hide all this. Okay, we're back. Okay, don't ask what we were whispering about. Everything's fine, really. I didn't know what else to say. I was hardly going to get into a discussion about my weird sleeping issues with Danny in the middle of the hall. I am curious about the other choice, though, because we didn't run into Elliot this time.
Are you sure? Your voice sounded a little weird.
Like I said, I probably just dozed off.
You dozed off while standing at your locker.
I can sleep anywhere when I'm tired, including standing up.
That's almost Mozzie level sleep skills.
Right?
Okay, well, if you're sure everything's okay.
Yep, no problems here. He gave me an uncertain look as he waved and headed to class. I stood there for a moment, staring after him before I shut my locker and followed suit, frowning. But really, what was that? What was that poem I'd been reciting too? Most of the lines had vanished as soon as Danny called out to me. Had I really fallen asleep? Or was it something else? Ugh. I definitely do not need an escalation of this stuff. Facts. Okay. Okay, we're not doing this. What is the distraction, girl? Hit me with that distraction. I staggered forward, subtly shoving my book bag off one shoulder, causing my books to cascade to the floor and slide every which way. I wasn't much of an actress, but I tried for a dramatic stumble before falling to my knees in the middle of my scattered school supplies. Those nearby burst into laughter and applause as I scrambled to pick up my things. I was just glad there weren't many of them there to witness that. Sorry about that. I snatched my backpack and started shoving things inside it while keeping one eye on Ewan. He seemed to snap out of it, and I watched him sort of surreptitiously straighten his head. Okay, not nearly as exciting as giving him a big smooch. The way he gave it a slight twist back into place made my stomach turn, but it seemed like the crisis was averted, more or less. He quickly retreated into a nearby class, so I assumed he wasn't quite out of the woods yet. Absolutely no one helped me gather up the books, the research journal, or the pens that had scattered everywhere. You all suck. I did so quickly on my own, then went to check on Ewan. Okay, how's this gonna go? I found him seated at a desk in the classroom, leaning over with his elbows on his knees and resting his head in his hands. I hesitated at the door, unsure what to do. Are you all right? Ewan sat there, still silent as the seconds ticked by. Ewan?
What?
Are you okay?
Do I look okay?
Well, I mean, his head was on, so that was a good thing, right?
And what was that anyway? What were you trying to do?
Help? Create a distraction?
I don't need your help. I deal with this thing every single day.
I beg to differ. You were 2 seconds from losing your head out there, literally.
I know you meant literally.
I winced as he raised his voice. I don't really get why you're angry, but you can stop shouting at me, like, now. He seemed to deflate at that. He squeezed his eyes shut and turned away, dragging his hands through his hair. Fortunately, the head stayed put this time. Not that there was anyone else around to see it fall off now.
Just leave.
Fine. Sulk alone. The next time it looks like you need help, I'll just stay away. And you know what? The next time you're tempted to offer me help, don't bother. I don't need this. Sorry, I thought we were friends or something. Ouch. I left him there, slamming the door on my way out and heading up to the club. What a jerk. Yeah, he could be nice, but those mood swings were not something I could put up with. He didn't get to be nice one minute, then bite my head off the next. Not okay. Especially since I had just been trying to freaking help. Well, we're definitely off to a good start. I just thought a distraction would help, that's all.
It did help, and I appreciate that you cared enough. I was just upset you witnessed that. I hate other people seeing it. I'm really sorry for being angry.
Well... yeah, I need to find a way to make friends with the Brownie.
Because of your brother?
I mean, I'm just sick of fighting with him over it.
Do you happen to know how he made it mad?
Not really. Okay. Now this is where we make our first save. So, number 5, why not? So we're going to reload the save at a later date, but this is our last choice for bat ending number 1, and we're going to banish the Brownie. Oh no, the betrayal of our Brownie friend. And in the end, that was kind of the most important thing. I just couldn't handle the uncertainty of trying to appease it. Besides, it didn't hate me. It hated Spencer. And there was no way I was going to be able to convince him to leave out little snacks and gifts for it. I looked over the list of ingredients I'd need to get it out of the house. Definitely stuff I'd need Allie's help with getting. Hopefully tomorrow, so we could be done with the whole thing. I slid off the bed and headed for the door just in time to see the Brownie trotting towards Spencer's room. I glared at it as I passed. Don't get comfortable, buddy. You're not sticking around. Oh, it ignored me as it went inside, and I just sighed as I tried to brace myself for whatever it pulled next. I would be so glad to be rid of that thing. Okay. Let's see what happens. The Brownie looked up at me solemnly. It reached out and offered me its hand. Unbidden, my arm moved. I reached down and grasped its tiny fingers in mine. My feet unfroze, and I followed it almost against my will. We passed through the throng of fairies, and I could feel their eyes on me, watchful and judging. I could no longer tell if this was a dream or reality. My strange partner and I only a few steps from the front door. It was taking me outside. Oh no, it did hear me. It was playing it cool, like, oh, you're gonna get rid of me, eh? What if I got rid of you first? No. Can't. I can't leave the house. My feet caught on the rug. The Brownie paid no attention as I stumbled after it, awkwardly bent over to maintain my hold on its hand. The door swung open silently, and a whirl of cold air blew inside, fallen leaves pulling around my feet. I stood still for what seemed like ages before I stumbled forward onto the porch. The Brownie didn't cross the threshold. It stood watching from the warmth of the house. I careened off the porch drunkenly, arms outstretched to keep myself from falling. Every movement was a battle between the part of me that was me and whatever part took control during these times. She led me down the driveway, into the street. Or I led myself there. I couldn't tell anymore how many wills were at play here. I just knew the cold, icy pavement froze my toes and the soles of my feet as I walked further and further from the house. Strange lights wove blurry webs of color in the dark, lighting my way. There were trees around me, rising like shadowy pillars to the sky. The underbrush bit harshly into my feet, but I kept on, walking quickly, feverishly, because I had to. This time I had to make it. I had to. No. I have to... home. I tried to fight against the will that dragged me forward, but heavy sleep tugged at my mind, and I struggled to resist. There was someone beside me. A hulking shape moving through the trees with me. With great effort, I looked that way. Spriggan? It is. No! I jolted awake, staring in horror at my companion. The Spriggan looked back, but before I could scramble away, its huge hand closed on my arm.
Come with me.
No! No! I tried to claw away as it dragged me further and further into the trees. This time there was no fighting it, and no Brenna to swing in out of nowhere and save me. My shouts pierced the night air, but there was no one around to hear me anyway. The Spriggan dragged me into the shadows, but those soon fell away. The cold gave way to warmth. The red hues of fall gave way to emerald green. I struggled right up until that moment. That otherworldly shift made me freeze in place. A strange mixture of horror and hope filled me. This is where I had been trying to go. This is where I needed to be. No, not me. This isn't where I wanted to be. I needed to go home. This place was their home. I had to... Sleepiness overwhelmed me and my world went black. Somewhere, in the back of my mind, I heard a whisper that was at once comforting and terrifying.
Welcome home, Nora. We've been waiting for you such a long time. Let's get you back to where you belong.
Ah, the end! Fear no more the heat of the sun, nor the furious winter's rages. Thou thy worldly task hast done, home art gone, and ta'en thy wages. Nice. Alright, did we do it? Lead me home! Alright, well, Brownie betrayed us, but only because we betrayed it first, so I think that was fair play on the Brownie's part. Alright, well, that's bad ending number 1 out of the way. On to bad ending number 2.